So we're looking at the distributive law, but the distributive law is actually only half of the name. The rest of the name is really important. So I'll just add it up here. The distributive law of multiplication. So it's a rule that we can use when we're multiplying over the top of addition or subtraction. And if we have a look at the types of questions, you can see that all of these questions have a similar format in that within the brackets is a subtraction or an addition. It doesn't matter that we've got some pronumerals, some letters representing numbers in there, because the letters still represent numbers. It works the same way, so don't let that put you off. So as well as that, we have every expression with a multiplication, either at the front or out the back, and it doesn't matter which way, because we know that multiplication is commutative, which means the order doesn't matter when you multiply. So this is how the law works. We're using the multiplication, and we're going to distribute that multiplication over the top of addition or subtraction. So I take the number here on its own, and I'm going to, we've got the little multiplication symbol there. It's not always written, sometimes it's implied. We say 3 multiplied by 100. You don't have to write this line if you don't want to. And then 3 multiplied by 2. I'm distributing my multiplication over the top of subtraction. 3 multiplied by 2. And you often see these kinds of claws drawn over the top to make sure you multiply everything. If it was subtraction to begin with, it's subtraction in the next line of the calculation. 3 by 100 is 300. 3 by 2 is 6. It must be subtraction, which means I've got 294 is the answer to this calculation. Now, because it's all numbers, I could actually choose, instead of distributive law, what if, and some of you may be thinking that's not how I'd calculate this, and that's fine, what if I used order of operations? So if I use order of operations, I would calculate what's in the bracket first, which is 98, 100 take 2. So I would leave 3 and the multiplication alone, and I would just calculate what's in the brackets first, which is 98. Then I get to the point where I'm going to have to triple 98. That's very difficult to do in my head. I'm going to be sneaky, I know where we end up. It's going to be 3 by 100, and then I'm going to have to take off a few 2's because I was only multiplying by 98. So some kind of mental calculation needs to get you to 294. But that's a bit awkward. Those numbers are not easy. Sometimes it's easier to multiply over the top first and then do your calculation. Let's have a look at the second one now. I'm going to multiply, just change my coloured pens, I'm going to multiply the 2 over the top of the subtraction again, and I'm not going to be thrown off by the fact that the 2's at the back of the brackets. It's still a factor, still can multiply. Here we go. 2 by 44 is 88. 2 by 3 is 6, so that was 2 by 44, and that was 2 by 3, and it was subtraction, it remains subtraction. My answer is 82. Could you use order of operations? Yes, you could. You could for this one, and that's no worries. Number 3, let's have a look. Now we're still multiplying from the back of the bracket, and that's fine. 3 by 12 is 36. 3 by 7 is 21. And this time it was multiplying, distributing my multiplication over addition. So we can add it up and I'll get 57. Could I use order of operations? Yes, I could. That's fine. Okay, now we're not going to be thrown. We see a bit of algebra and that's okay. I'm still going to follow the same process. B and A, we would say, are variables, which means they're numbers and their value can vary. So B might be a 7, might be a 3, might be a 2, but the process remains the same. It's still a number of sorts. So here we go. We multiply B by A. I take B and I multiply by A. I take B and I multiply by 2. And I'm multiplying over the top of addition this time. And I'll put my equals sign there to say that they are worth the same. They're equivalent. Now when we're working in algebra, it's common not to keep the multiplication symbol because it looks a bit like an X. So, and we also, it's convention to write the letters in alphabetical order. So AB is how we would describe B times A in a neat little package. Plus 2 times B, we always put the number first. Again, that's just convention. Now I can't go any further than that. That's where I stop. So I'm not able to go any further. Can I use order of operations? No. So that's what order of operations, if that's your only option, you get stuck when you hit algebra because you can't calculate A plus 2. So this is your only option now when you've moved into algebra, and that's why it's such an important one. Distributive law works every time. For the final one, 3 by A is 3A, 3 by B is 3B. So whatever those numbers are, they've been multiplied by 3, and I carry down my subtraction, and that's where I stop. Again, I can't calculate what's in the brackets first, so order of operations is no use to me. Distributive law works in all cases, and that's why it's a really good one to learn.